Welcome back to the IeSF 2013 World Championship coverage from Chaos TV. I am Stress alongside Panky, and we've got a brilliant game coming for you today. I cannot wait for this one.
Let's hope so. Denmark have easily taken their first two victories without really breaking a sweat. I mean, there's a lot of familiar names in this, so some people may not be too surprised, but we will wait and see if they can take all three games, because now we've come up against their toughest challenge in the group.
Yeah, both of these teams are sat at 2-0 in Group A, and really this is going to be a battle of potentially some of the favourites for this tournament here for this first place in the group. You can see bands are already flying out, and fairly standard from what we've seen on this patch. Of course, we're on 3.12, which means it's the patch that was on live for a fair amount of time, not the current patch, however. So you can see Kassadin banned out, Ari banned out, and Ramus banned out?
Okay.
Okay, was not expecting that one. And I'm not sure Korea would have been expecting that one either, but it does let them get Elise as their first pickup, and instantly Santorin looks to pick up that Shyvana that we saw him play earlier.
So, in fact, Denmark right now immediately picking over the first two champions we saw them pick in the last game too, against the Philippines, which allowed them to take a very early lead, a very commanding lead, and started to really push home their victory from a very early point in the game, so to speak.
Now, something that's interesting is I would wonder whether we've seen that resurgence, the appearance of Shyvana again, because it's been very widely used in Europe. Without the main OGN tournament on, it's fairly difficult to get your hands on a lot of the Korean VODs. And yes, they have had the qualifiers running in the past couple of weeks, but I'm just wondering whether Shyvana has been picked up in Korea as well. And some fairly unorthodox picks to begin with for Korea with that Nidalee. Not a champion we see all that much these days.
Yeah, and just see where they're going to put her too. I mean, Trinity Force coming back in, she works fairly well with that, and I've seen a couple of people try and put her in the top lane building a Trinity Force. She may not do too bad against Lee Sin in that situation as well, with the sustain she's got, with the long range poke, the easy ranged farm she has, and just the escapes, of course, once she hits that level 6. But at the same time, AP Nidalee can work very, very nicely in a long range poke siege comp, complemented by that Caitlyn's Piltover Peacemaker.
Yeah, Nidalee in the mid lane is a champion that has been picked as comfort picks over in America. If any of you have been watching the NACL, we've seen a couple of mid lane champions, players default to Nidalee, and wow, Korea are really throwing out some curveballs on this one.
I love this team.
This feels a lot more like seasons 1 and 2 here with these pickups.
I love Alistair. Now, I'd like to see him, and I'd love to see him as a jungle Alistair. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen, but I remember back in the good old days when jungle Alistair was a staple of many a lineup. A certain CLG EU is the first one that comes to mind. Snoopy ran that count ragged. It is great fun, and I love seeing it play, but up against Corki Sona, I mean, there's some good sustain. His E is actually a lot of healing once you can start spamming that out, but in a 2v2 situation, I can't see it going particularly well for them.
I kind of feel like Denmark, if I'm on that team right now, I'm thinking, okay, Nidalee, we've played against it before, we know what to do, we just, take a dive composition that's going to be good against poke, because that's what you'd be expecting here. Then they lock in Alistair, and that really is a game changer, because it's very difficult to dive on top of an Alistair, because he pulverizes, will headbutt a main focus either back in towards the team or a main threat out of the team, and then can start to control things a lot better. So this is a very old school composition coming from our Korean team. Denmark are running with a very similar composition to the last game, have picked that Shyvana as well. Will it be top lane Shyvana, or will it be jungle? That is the question. We saw jungle in the last game, but Santorin and Nigodbro have been swapping around quite a bit in the end of Champion Select.
The thing that's got me so far with both the Philippines and with the Serbian team, they picked strong teamfight comps, and Philippines even more so picked a strong late game teamfight comp. But they didn't get to that point. They lost the game well before then. So with this Korean team doing a similar thing, you say picking that Alistar, stopping the dives, picking these very strong later counter-initiate teams, that's all very well. But if you lose every lane before those even happen, then no matter comp's going to save you. So they need to step it up and beat the Denmark team, or at least hold steady and go level with them in this laning phase before any of those kind of things really come into play.
Again, this is another one of these times where this question about prejudging teams from the nation they come from, and this is why IeSF as a world championship is a fantastic event to look at this kind of focus, is this isn't a Korean team that is your CJ Enters Frost and Blaze and that high level of team that we see in OGN winning. This is
that
a Korean
high level of team. Let's list 2 Korean teams that didn't make it to World Finals. Nice.
I know. I'm living. Look, with Alistair and a lot of these back, I'm living in season 2 again. Okay, I could have picked SK Telecom T1 or any of the other OGN teams that I could have
SK
picked.
Telecom T1 Team 2 actually won Worlds.
Thank you.
They decided to rename them and be really useful and put their World Final winning team as the Team 2.
Judgment Day. So I hope they're going to be called again, because that's the best name for a team ever. But we are into Korea versus Denmark, and as I was saying, will we see the assumed consistency and strength of a Korean team in this game, or will Denmark continue their very strong performances already in Group A?
Seeing a slightly different route that we haven't seen in the previous games, or in fact we haven't seen for a couple of weeks during the Spring Promotion Colos either. Korean squad from the blue side invading up towards the top tri-bush. Now we've seen teams going in through the Wraith camp, planting wards and gaining deep within their opposition jungle, but as you would see here, and as they would have done, as they are just doing, they're walking across a ward to do that. This way they would have dodged it, but instead they decided to throw abilities across the ward just to remind the Danish squad where they were.
Yeah, and this is a confidence that we haven't seen out of any of the opponents from Denmark before, and they've got good wards in their own jungle, they've got their red buff covered, and Denmark are going to walk all the way over that 60-second ward. I believe Gragas will see that die in just a second, so they know they're going to be warded if Gragas was indeed paying attention. And already, I believe it's 4 or 5 wards out from Korea already to begin this game.
Yep, and the fact that Alistair and Caitlyn are still here and helping in this buff too confirms the fact that they are lane swapping. They're not putting Alistair and Caitlyn against Corki and Sona. That would not end well for them. But they've also kept Shen up there too, which, okay, we're not going to get a tri-lane, but this is something we have seen many times before. Junglers and top laners sticking together for a while, helping clear out their own jungle, getting that experience advantage off the jungle creep before going to lane. And of course, then having a big wave of creeps at the tower. Now, they're taking it slightly differently by using the enemy jungle to farm up their top laner, but ultimately Shen then will get to lane with a few little creep experience bonuses that Shyvana didn't have. But Denmark are doing a very good job against it, and rather than pushing their bottom lane slowly, rather than letting a big wave of creeps build up, they pushed it quickly, and Shen is already losing creeps to the tower.
Yeah, if he doesn't get there, and he actually will not get there before this massive wave does, for the most part, die off, and that's a lot of experience that's going to be missed. He didn't even clear those golems, so hasn't hit level 2 at all from that experience out of the jungle, so still in a predicament, as it now does push away from that turret.
He lost 2 waves of creeps down there to that bottom tower. Now, if you look at the top lane, Shyvana, while she probably lost about 5 or 6 creeps, there is still a good 12, 13 creeps waiting to hit that tower. She will get the experience from those, and Shen will not. So this is actually, in fact, worked out counterintuitive here for the Korean squad, because Shen could not get to that bottom lane in time. Good job by Denmark to push it hard and fast enough.
Yeah, and also with that ward covering Tribush, they knew that Elise was just around the corner, so there was no surprise gank coming out there. Santorin just keeping the Korean top lane duo on their toes with that little maneuver around to try and land some damage. But both teams sending their jungler to that solo lane to hold the lanes.
Yeah, just helping out, make sure there's no crazy dives or initiates, and just making sure they get as many creeps and experience as possible. I mean, I don't expect anyone would really dive at this point in the game, but getting as much of the experience and gold there is important. Now, with Santorin hanging around, we do see Nigobro getting a bit safer, getting a bit further out from his turret, but ultimately it won't last for too long as Gobro has to go out and do something else, because with constantly showing himself in that top lane, it removes a lot of pressure from the rest of the map. So Nidalee now knows she's safe, she's not going to be ganked because he's up top. Elise knows she can go wherever and take whatever from his jungle without having any kind of interaction. As in the bottom lane, we get a talk.
Down in the bottom lane, the cocoon did land, and the first blood will go along to Elise. Gamble looking to maybe turn around, but Elise is just going to follow this one up with further damage. Another nice cocoon, and the spiderling will explode. Not enough to pick up the kill, but that is a lot of damage and an early kill for Korea.
Yeah, I mean, Shen's early damage is very strong. A lot of people don't realize it. With that Vorpal Blade and his passive, that's a big burst of magic damage. And with a good taunt onto that Sona and a follow-up Cocoon, they were able to easily burst down what has very famously been labeled the squishiest champion in game. Sona, she is less armor than a creep.
Yeah, and something that's a little bit of a subtle change to what we normally see with this Shyvana and Lee Sin defensive stance that Santorin has taken. Normally, Lee Sin, when he comes to hold the lane, when he has red buff, has a fair amount of damage, and especially alongside a champion like Shyvana, you can actually pick up some surprise kills on the duo lane if they do indeed overextend. But Alistar is a complete game changer in that lane. There is no way to stick onto Caitlyn when there's an Alistar in that lane, and Nigobro and Santorin aren't able to get the work done from this defensive lane. All they're doing is pushing that lane back out and holding to attempt to farm.
Yeah, I mean, Lee, first of all, to get those surprise kills, he's got to land that Sonic Wave. He's got to land that Q ability. One, he hasn't done that in anything but creep for a while. Two, when he does go in, there's no crowd control there, so they're just going to keep running away and running away and running away. Godbro's got to get then on top of them to try and help him with the damage. Now, he doesn't have a gap closer like Lee Sin, so he's going to run that entire distance. This entire time, Lee Sin is going to be pulverized into the air by Alistar, and then if he needed to, headbutted either away from Caitlyn, so Caitlyn's safe, or even further into danger and away from Shyvana's support, making him 2v1 for even longer. So it's very, very risky to go in on that.
Godbro and Santorin might be in a spot of trouble here, and actually Korea will divert their attention as Mikau did show himself. But four men were on their way up towards that top lane, and Korea is still hunting around for a kill. Can they land it onto Mikau? The cocoon does land. They're looking for the follow-up damage, but the spear wasn't quite available. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Gamble went a little bit aggressive on towards that tower and took a turret shot for his troubles.
Yeah, he took a lot of damage onto Shen, but did take the turret damage for his troubles. And there is the first turret of the game going down with the creep damage just about. Did see Flash forced out of Mikau in that mid lane, and that opens up this top lane to a very powerful gank from Shyvana.
Yeah, spear doesn't quite land, but it looked like the flash forward out of Nidalee with the W as well, trying to land under the spear, can't quite get it, but that tower will fall pretty quickly here with that many members up, and it looks like Shyvana is trying to chase on towards Elise, still only level 5, so no way of really closing that gap as you were talking about, just relying on burnout to try and catch her up.
I was not sure why it was a game from Shyvana, it was a game from Elise, but never mind. The job was done, tower for tower. Slight gold lead in here now then for Korea. As, well, I'm not sure where it's come from. To be honest, the CS numbers look pretty even. In fact, Lee Sin's slightly up, Shyvana's slightly up. But Korea has a gold lead of 500 because of that first blood.
Yeah,
of course that's where it came from. I'm not sure where it came from. Oh wait, they've got a kill.
It's okay. It's early. We're only on our third game of the day, but it looks like
I'm not normally
Denmark...
awake at this time of day.
No, I know, right? Denmark will swing around and pick up the dragon. That not only evens it up, but will push the gold lead in their favour. And Denmark, while they're getting a stronger competition out of Korea than before, they're not crumbling under the pressure, as some people may expect from previous Korea versus Europe matchups.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they haven't had that early lead that they were expecting for. Yes, this isn't quite so snowbally as their previous two games, but they're keeping their cool, they're relaxing, they're playing a bit safer, playing a bit more coordinated. I mean, even with those crazy long leads, they still played very well as a team, they still played very, very smoothly, and they weren't doing anything too crazy insane. Now, if they can keep doing that, they can still turn this game around, they can still play some solid matches and still have a very powerful team comp. But they've still got an early game team. They've still got strength in these first 20 minutes of the game. So they need to start making those plays. They need to start making that pressure and using that strong early strength now. Now, they did use it earlier on. They did use their positioning as well on that bottom lane, getting that tier 2 turret to get themselves a quick and early dragon, while the rest of Korea was up in the top lane pushing down their towers. But they need to do more than just 1 or 2 dragon objectives here and there.
I kind of feel like I like this build choice from Negod, bro. We've seen a couple of different ways of starting on Shyvana. You've seen some people go Blade of the Ruined King. He's actually picked himself up an Avarice Blade, which he's farming fairly well already against Shen, but just to make sure that in that 2v1 he was indeed getting the gold he needs. You can see already 51 to 31. Of course, Shyvana does farm a little bit easier than Shen does, especially in the 2v1, but Negod, bro, certainly has his mind on his money. There's the ultimate, doesn't actually miss though. Was thinking about the money a little bit too much. Kit goes backwards away from them as well. They're trying to chase on. Burnout surely will be enough to keep them in range, looking for that flame spit. There it is. They will pick up the kill there. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Alistar will headbutt Sona back in towards her tower. And now Gamble has to be careful. Looking for the cocoon. Flash to the side, gets behind the minion wave. As Elise still chasing on. Can't quite convert that into a kill.
So very nice play from Korea. As soon as they saw Elise in top, they knew they were safe to go for this 3-man dive. And bottom, we do get that flash. Cocoon comes out from Elise. And they do nuke down Corki as soon as he was exposed behind those creeps. But kind of Godbro missing his ultimate meant that both Lee Sin and meant that Shyvana has to blow her flash to then keep on top of that Shen. It was a very nice escape from Shen. Okay, he died eventually, but he kept them busy long enough. He kept them distracted that bottom dive was then possible. And the finishing up resulting killing Corki and Tower puts Korea up 2 turrets to 1 because of a nice rotate by Nidalee going and saving the top turret on her side of the map.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that Shen not dying before he got to the tower initially helped them do. You would imagine that Shyvana and Lee Sin are going to want to push hard in towards that top tower and get as much damage on it as possible, but because they were forced to chase and expend so much, it's actually Alistar will find Roldo in the jungle, headbutts her backwards just to keep her in check. That top lane tower is still pretty much only 1 hit from being completely fresh. It's only lost 16 health so far, so that top lane tower is going to be up for a little bit longer. Yeah,
so good defense again, Nidalee. Now, she's been doing a whole lot of, not much, but farming in this mid lane, which is fairly sure what her and Greg is going to do. Of course, there's a pair of just barrels and then cat form. She'll just leap backwards, forwards, clear wave, clear wave, clear wave, clear wave, and then go farm their jungle camps while the junglers were busy saving those other lanes. So she's getting stronger. She's got that Athene's on Holy Grail now, so got a lot of spear spam potential, but not too much damage on it. See that one here, rolled
out. Wow, gets removed from the map. Explosive Cask will blow them back in towards their mid lane, but it looks like Korea are just content to tank that tower down a little bit. Can't quite get it as the minion wave has run out. Will Denmark look to turn this one around? They don't quite have the numbers advantages. Shyvana is up in that top lane. Gamble takes the spear and will drop him fairly low. Santorin gets hit by the cocoon, and it looks like Korea are going to follow up and jump straight on top of him, but do they have the damage to chip them down? Ace in the hole does get channeled. That may leave Caitlyn exposed. Looks like Korea are going to turn and run for the hills.
The coordination here in Korea is brilliant. Just catching 1 or 2 people out, immediately following up, all rotating around, heading towards the blue buff to escape as a squad. Everyone knows exactly where they should be, and they're on the same page at all times. And they just rotate back towards that middle lane and look to do a similar thing again. They still haven't killed that turret yet, but it's incredibly low, and they do have Caitlyn there to finish it off.
Yeah, as you were saying, the coordination, like, as soon as that cocoon landed, it was as if, as one, the entire team dive straight on Santorin and pretty much try and remove him as best as possible. Did manage to get away, though. So, 3 kills on Elise already means that the Sorcerer's Boots, alongside the spread of the Ancient Golem, is a good early start here for Elise as we head towards the mid-game. Lots of wards out already. Look at the number of pink wards. 5 pink wards on the side of Denmark, with a couple out for Korea. That's some early gold that has been spent to try and establish as much control around this lower jungle area as possible.
So, Korea pink warding that dragon away. They obviously didn't get the first one, they know this, but they also got top turrets instead. They're 3 turrets to 1, so they're ahead. They're not too worried about not getting that one. But if they start giving them all away for free, they will slowly lose their lead. So even if they don't take them now, even if they don't feel they could win a 5v5 against Denmark around the Drake or while they're fighting Drake, just by having vision, just by having control of the area, means they can pressure Denmark now while Denmark are doing it themselves. They have, of course, got Shen in the top lane with his ultimate, so he can come join in when they so wish, and they can see Gragas in the mid lane, so they know there's only 4 here, and they're going in.
Oh, Stand United gets used and it manages to appear with the taunt onto Godbro, who will try and ultimate away from that. That's a double kill already onto Caitlyn as they try and chase on towards Santorin. Another beautiful cocoon out from Elise. Really, Sevilla has been on point with those cocoons, and now Korea look to turn towards his inner mid turret. Piltover Peacemaker lands. Mikau will just keep Corki safe.
Beautiful body slam kept him in front of that Corki, otherwise that would have meant certain death for Gamble. But again, Gragas out of position, he was in that mid lane, so couldn't come across to help. Korea knew this, they collapsed in from all sides onto the 4 members of Denmark that were exposed and nuked Sona down in the space of that cocoon. She could not get a crescendo off, and that is a big part of the Denmark team fight comp. So that with her gone, a great Alistar combo hit 3 people with his knockup, and they were completely locked in and exposed for Korea to slaughter them.
Yeah, and that will be a dragon for Korea.
Caitlyn just killed that with a 90 caliber net.
Yep, and got over the wall as well. That was quite an impressive little feat of strength there from Caitlyn. Just showing off a little bit here in this game. Denmark are looking to pressure this middle lane. We do know that Elise is down in the bottom. Voldo nearly took a spear, and of course with that Athene's and Holy Grail finished, those spears are going to come out very quickly from Sang Moon on Nidalee. Looks like they are going to push in towards this middle lane. It is pretty low already, under 1/3 of its health, but they have to be careful as Elise has gone missing. They know she's recalled up in that top lane. Shyvana will push that through as well, but I have a feeling it is still very high on health, so Godbro has a lot of work to do here, and it looks like Shen will be able to cut her off.
Shen comfortably sitting up in that top lane and mindlessly farming for a while. Now he's only up to 67 CS, which is not a lot. Of course, he was 2v1ing. I like what Godbro's trying here. I mean, Build Drill Cutlass, of course, is something he needs. He needs that little bit of crowd control. He needs to be able to stick to targets, and it is a great bit of damage. But building that Avarice Blade means that the time he spends up there farming against Shen and pushing away from Shen is only going to get him stronger 10 times faster as Sona gets caught again.
Oh, nice crescendo though, is going to keep her alive for now. Gamble does take that ace in the hole. Sona ends up dying anyway, and Gamble now on half health can't really look to counter engage here if the rest of the team were deciding to. It looks like Korea might even be thinking of following this one up. Spears coming out. If they start landing, that's going to be a very difficult position for Denmark to follow back from, but they are also pushing up in that top lane. Shen doing as Shen does with that split push, and Godbro hasn't got any finished items, even though he has got his... Actually, Godbro is going to ultimate back in towards Alistar. The cocoon lands once again, and Godbro gets taken very low. Korea look to be content just taking down this turret.
Beautifully timed Alistar headbutt to cancel the dragon's descent. Unfortunately, there wasn't quite the team there to follow it up for him at that time, so they couldn't do any more on it. But just being annoying, just keeping Godbro busy, making him use abilities that he otherwise may not have done so. And there's the same thing with Elise. After landing that stun, just unloading her combo, forced Denmark to blow a lot of ability just to try and save that Shyvana from taking free damage. Even though it wouldn't have killed him, they used a lot up, and as a result, it couldn't save their turret.
Cocoon does land, but it's only Elise that was the last member of Korea that were there, and Godbro really is just kind of building one of everything. He's like, I need some damage, okay, I'll get a Bilgewater. I need some money, I'll get an Avarice Blade. Now I need health and resistances, so Giant Spelt and a Negatron Cloak. I really would like to see him start finishing some items though, but right now he's getting bullied around by Shen whenever Shen appears in that top lane with that Sunfire Cape.
The thing here with Korea right now is there's too many threats for him. Nidalee is very fed lots of poke. Caitlyn is very fed lots of poke. Elise is doing a lot of damage. And that Shen is just constantly sitting in that top lane, or now the bottom lane, and the magic damage from his Sunfire Cape is slowly, and his auto attacks for that matter, is slowly whittling through Shyvana. So she needs a little bit of everything to stay alive. She needs that health, she needs that magic resist, but she also wants to put a lot of damage down herself. So he's got a very mismatched build at the moment, trying to get all of these stats at once. But I honestly think he would be better off just trying to focus on one and taking that as it comes. Korea, however, doing exactly what Denmark have been doing to their opponents in the earlier rounds and taking advantage of this early Baron. That was beautiful. Did not expect the flash over the wall.
Brilliant flash, Cocoon. Stand United, there's another flash. This one comes out from Nidalee. They're chasing on towards Gamble. They've decided they can 3-man Baron at this point in the game. They have to be careful. The Mikau doesn't have that explosive cask. It is available. Lands it too early. And that surely will be their last chance of picking up that Baron. It does go to Elise, but the chase is on. Crescendo does whiff as Shen manages to Shadow Dash out of the way. And Caitlyn is still on full health, manages to thread the needle and gets that kill with the ace in the hole, and now looks to clean up. And there's so many low health targets that this could easily be a quadra kill if they can manage to get it. Flashes over the wall for the quadra kill, and Caitlyn is at 7-0-3 and is looking unstoppable.
The positioning and the coordination of this Korean team is amazing. Shen there getting that last taunt onto Gamble. He was very low health after going over that wall and in full retreat. He ran into the banana bush to hide, realized Gamble was coming a bit further forward, ran back out of the banana bush to get around behind Corki, taunted back into the banana bush so he was out of vision and safe, but the taunt had landed. That held him in place, which allowed a beautiful headbutt pulverized knockup from Alistar to hit not only Corki, but it also hit Gragas just before he flashed over that wall. A repel then dodged the Gragas barrel that would have finished Elise off, landed on his head, and put a lot more damage. And the entire time, Caitlyn was completely free in the backside, doing damage to Shyvana, then picking off Sona, and then rotating around what would have been traditionally a terrible position for an AD carry to be in. But with all that damage, she was able to finish off the low health champions of Denmark with ease.
Note to self, Panky's brain includes a DVR function, because that was a lot of information. Korea now going aggressive once again, find one in the jungle, will delete them from the map. Ace in the hole will land alongside that venomous bite, and it looks like they're trying to catch on here. That mid tower is already fairly low from the push earlier. Nidalee pushing through in the top lane as well, and Godbro just isn't quite finding the groove that he's had in the previous games. Korea are looking very, very strong here in this game.
They are, and they are doing exactly what Denmark did before. They're pushing this advantage home. They grab that early Baron. They now just don't care about this tower. Elise just walks straight in before the creeps are there or whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm going to force a flash out of Roldo. And they will back up, and the inhib is exposed.
Yeah, that inhib will go down, and we're only 22 minutes into this game, so that one might be caught, but Elise is fairly tanky once you do have that Spirit of the Ancient Golem. And most of an Aegis of the Legion will repel now down onto Lee Sin. Can't quite land the Cocoon. That might be one of the first ones that's actually missed this game. As Korea now are setting up residency inside the base of Denmark. The Stand United has been used preemptively. No need really, but we'll get Shen in position for that. They've now managed to chase Mikau away out the back of the base. The repel comes down. That's a double kill for Elise. Oh, the Cocoon doesn't quite land. Headbutt away for Godbro. And Korea now looking to step their aggression up onto the Nexus turrets.
GG, well played. It's already coming out in chat from Team Denmark. Status now on his Shen without creeps, so there's bonus armor on this tower. He's just face tanking it down. He's got the backdoor bonus on it, and he still just doesn't care. The rest of Korea finish off the Nexus turrets, and now we'll finish off the Nexus. Beautifully played. They managed to, unlike the previous teams, they managed to hold their own in the lane. They did not fall too far behind during the laning phase. So Denmark did not get that early lead they normally had. And then Korea used superior crowd control effects to just catch one or two people out of position at the start of team fights or while warding the jungle, and use that to immediately engage 4v5 fights and just out-position and outplay the Denmark squad. Most of the time, unfortunately for poor Roldo, it was that very, very squishy, unhealthy Sona that was the one that got caught out. But when you've got the likes of a Shentor, an Alistar combo, a Cocoon from Elise, anyone that gets caught in those three abilities chained so perfectly will be dead before they can cast any abilities. And for Roldo, that's resulted in a 0-7 scoreline.
And on the mirror to that really is the 806 Elise from Sevilla and 705 Caitlyn for It Now. And that's just impressive. At this level of the game, it doesn't matter who you're playing for. To have two members of your team go without dying, that's an incredible feat. And we've seen just the coordination from Korea. They are strongly stamping their mark as potential favourites here, and they have taken the first spot in Group A. Group B is still being played out, I believe, on the stream that is live in the venue over at the IeSF World Championships in Romania. I think we'll be back with Group C and D coverage at around about 2 o'clock UK time. That's 3 o'clock Central European time.
Exactly an hour.
It is an hour from now, so make sure you join us in an hour for the coverage from Group C and D. We will be back in an hour with those games.